Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
Hold one, Andre.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Oh my God!
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold two, on bar.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Dummy.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
Hold three, Lamas covers, three-handle family Gradunzel.
Mamma mia!
And now, Unchained.media presents the B Plus Podcast with your host, Greg Unchained.
It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Number 4, armbar.
I will never retire!
I still got 200 more. I got 200 more holes to list.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the B Plus Podcast. I am your host, Greg Unchained. Today is Friday. You know what that means. It's time for Aussie Grapps. This is the episode once a week where we sit down and break down everything that is happening in the world of Australian professional wrestling, because we are Australian and we are very proud of our local scene here in Australia. We have some of the best talent in the world, and the world saw that this week, but we'll get to that in the news section. I also like to sit down, as well as covering the news, I like to sit down and talk to one of our Aussie grapplers every week. This week, I had a chance to have a chat with Rufio. It was kind of put together at the last minute. So Rufio, I mentioned last week on my news segment because he sent out a tweet directed at Robbie Eagles for essentially taking his spot on the upcoming AWA show. Robbie Eagles and Adam Brooks are in the main event, and Rufio felt as though it was a spit in his face that Robbie Eagles was coming in and main eventing a show on his turf, I suppose, when he has put in so much work and effort for AWA, but he is not booked on the show. And so he listened to the podcast and he had a response that he posted on Facebook, on his Facebook page there. And I reached out to him and he was available for a quick chat. So we sat down for 15 or so minutes and had a talk about the tweets and this weekend and Queensland wrestling a little bit more broadly. But before I get into the news, I just want to as well take a second to acknowledge that I have not been as active on the B Plus Facebook or on the bplus.com for the last week. I have been battling a severe case of the man flu. It wasn't the man flu. I had a virus. The kids brought home a virus from playgroup and I had a virus. So we were all kind of bedridden, and I still managed to watch and get up and sort of medicate myself enough to do all the podcasts and stuff. But I haven't been too much on the computer or doing the posting or any of that sort of stuff. And then today, I've been having some pain with the coughs and whatnot, so I went back to the doctor and I found out that I have a hernia and I'm unable to lift weights, and I'm feeling kind of down about it. I'm pretty bummed out. I've been making some really good progress. I've been back in the ring training, been back in the ring wrestling. I've been, pumping iron at the gym, feeling good, feeling great, lost a lot of weight. And now I kind of have to pump the brakes a little while I get this whole, hernia thing sorted out. It's really, really frustrating. And so I'm spending a lot of time just sort of relaxing and not really getting around to the posting. So I do apologize for that. Things should get back to normal shortly, but just a little update so you know where I'm at, so you know where my headspace is at, so you know where my body's at. The priority for me is always going to be the podcast, so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we don't miss any podcasts or let you know ahead of time if we're going to. And yeah, at the end of the day, the website will be the first thing to fall to the wayside and then followed by the Facebook. So it is what it is, but I'm here right now, so let's sit down and let's talk about what happened this week in Australian professional wrestling news. First off the bat, let's take a look at our Aussies going international. Of course, I am talking about the Battle of Los Angeles. I talked about this last week. BOLA, as it is referred to. Now, I'm supposed to be having a chat with Jamie Apps. I haven't been able to get in touch with him. Jamie Apps went over and he was watching the whole thing. He'd initially told me he'd send some things through for the website, but, the craziness of being in Los Angeles for the weekend for BOLA, I'm sure, got the better of him, and he had better things to do. So that's okay. That's neither here nor there. We are going to sit down and have a talk with him about his BOLA experience as soon as we can. But for now, all I have to go off are the same written reports that everyone else has seen. Now, our guys supposedly impressed a lot, but unfortunately they did not bring home the crown. So in the first round, we had Adam Brooks fall to Ray Horace by pinfall, but Jonah Rock and Robbie Eagles did make it through the first round, both picking up wins by submission. Jonah Rock defeated Sammy Guevara, and Robbie Eagles defeated DJZ, taking them on to the quarterfinals in the second round. Both of them were eliminated. Jonah Rock was eliminated by Walter, and Robbie Eagles was eliminated by Shingo Takagi. Ultimately, Jeff Cobb would go on and win the tournament by defeating Bandito and Shingo in the finals. So Jeff Cobb is the new Battle of Los Angeles winner. Jonah Rock, Robbie Eagles made it to the second round. Adam Brooks, unfortunately, was eliminated in the first round. Then on the third night, when those second round matchups took place, Adam Brooks took part in a 10-man tag match, which looked like it was absolutely crazy. It had basically everyone else who was eliminated from the tournament. So Shima was in there, and PCO was in there. There was just a massive bodies everywhere, and Adam Brooks was involved in that. I'm really looking forward to getting the DVDs or getting the on-demand when it does eventually come out online. But, until that point, we just have to go off the written reports. And congratulations to Adam Brooks, congratulations to Robbie Eagles, and congratulations to Jonah Rock, because you've gotten people talking, you've gotten more eyes on Australian professional wrestling, and for that, we thank you, we take off our caps, #Now We Conquer, you're killing it, boys, and we're really proud of you. Speaking of Now We Conquer, the man himself, Mick Moretti, returns to Chikara this weekend, Saturday, September 22nd, Sunday for us. We can actually watch this one live. It's going to take place at about 4 or 5 a.m., I believe, Australian time on Sunday morning. So I don't know if you're still up from a wild Saturday night or if you're that keen that you want to wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. because it's 3 p.m. Eastern time in America on Saturday that this one takes place. So you can watch it live on Chikaratopia. It costs $7 a month. It is the best $7 you'll ever spend. Chikara are highly entertaining. And Mick Moretti is going to be there this weekend competing against Rory Gulak, who kind of looks like a before photo for Mick Moretti. He's got the same haircut, but just without the growth. He's got the bald in the middle. But, it's going to be a really good match. It's going to be entertaining. Mick Moretti is the best at what he does. What he does is crazy. He's a mischief maker. But he's over there, and he's conquering for us, and that's what he's doing. He got us noticed. You're going to notice us. And now, now we conquer. I have to do that every time I say hashtag. I have to go, I don't know if you can hear that. Now we conquer. Taking a look locally, MCW have had a series of announcements where we're looking forward now. Fight to Survive is in the rear view. You can catch that on MCW Encore on demand. It's in the rear view. It's behind us. We are looking forward to New Horizons. New Horizons, which I am very, very excited for because I'm going to be there. It's going to be my first Melbourne City Wrestling show. It's only my third time in Melbourne, and the last times I was in Melbourne, I was there with my band, so I didn't really get a chance to catch a wrestling show if there was any on. But Melbourne City Wrestling, October 5th, the night before WWE Super Showdown, we get to watch Melbourne City Wrestling, New Horizons, and, on the Saturday night, we're going to see Buddy Murphy claim the Cruiserweight title. On the Friday night, we're going to get the opportunity to see Adam Brooks. Adam Brooks might take that Inter-Commonwealth title off Slex. I don't know who I'm rooting for in this one. Both of these guys are guys I really respect. Both of these guys are guys I really enjoy watching work. I'm just going to be I'm just going to be enjoying the match, soaking it all in. Whoever wins, wins. But I got to admit, a little bit of a soft spot in my heart. I would love to see Adam Brooks and Buddy Murphy both walk out of the weekend with championships. I think that would be really special. And I'm kind of, in my heart of hearts, I'm pulling for Adam Brooks on that one. But we had some more announcements this week. So obviously we also know that Gino Gambino will be defending the title against Robbie Eagles in the main event. We also have now announced Loverboy Lockie Hendricks versus Dowie James. So Lockie Hendricks was eliminated in record time in the Fight to Survive match. And he claims that's because he had 4 Momos holding him down. This whole Momo thing, by the way, I don't know where the phrase Momo comes from, but every time I sit down to watch Stardom, I see Momo Watanabe, who is the Wonder of Stardom champion, and I just think how great it would be if Melbourne City Wrestling booked Momo and had Momo just shut Lockie Hendricks up. Just come on over here and just show him what it means to be a Momo. Because her finishing move is killer. It is a destroyer of human beings. And I would love to see Momo Watanabe hit that finisher, the running, swinging, neck-breaking, knee drop situation. I don't know what she calls it. I would love to see her hit that on Lockie Hendricks. It would be insane. So if anyone from Melbourne City Wrestling is listening, book Momo Watanabe. This thing writes itself. Anyway, he says that there were 4 Momos holding him down, and that Dowie can brag all he wants about eliminating him, but Dowie isn't in his league, son. So he challenged Dowie. Dowie, I suppose, accepted because it was announced on Facebook. The match is official. Loverboy Lockie Hendricks versus Dowie James at Fight to Survive on the 5th of October. We also got the announcement that Kellyanne and Avery are gonna go one-on-one. Kellyanne's gonna get her hands on Avery, and Avery was mocking her at the last show. She took the rivalry to new heights. She came out dressed as Kellyanne, and she's saying, Kellyanne is bored of Australia, right? Because she's going over to the UK, and that's what she says. So Avery says that Australia is bored with Kellyanne. Those are fighting words if ever I heard them. And then she dresses up like her and mocks her. Kellyanne attacked and had to be held back, and this week it was announced that Kellyanne will get her hands on her, one-on-one, New Horizons. This card is shaping up to be very exciting. I'm very much looking forward to it, and tickets are selling fast because it is the night before the WWE show. If you're listening to this, if you're heading down to Melbourne for the WWE Super Showdown and you're getting in on Friday morning like I am, and you have nothing to do the Friday night, Melbourne, even if you have something to do Friday night, cancel it. Go to Melbourne City Wrestling, because these guys are going to be pulling out all the stops to put on a killer show for everyone who's in town, and it's definitely going to be worth the $30 or $40. I can't remember how much tickets were. It's definitely going to be worth the money to go see this show. And then the next day, we have WrestleRock's WrestleBrunch, and the first match for that one has been announced. Now, this one's confusing for me. It's so CK Dowie, also known in Melbourne City Wrestling as Dowie James, versus Caveman Ugg in a catwalk match, with the sheriff of WrestleRock, Crackerjack, assigned as a special guest referee to make sure that everything goes according to plan. But we don't know what the plan is. What the hell is a catwalk match? In order to find out, you need to be there. It's right before the Super Showdown. It happens at lunchtime on the Saturday, and it's just a short walk from the MCG at the Corner Hotel. So if you, like me, want to find out what the hell a catwalk match is, I imagine it's going to involve a catwalk of some kind. If you want to find out what a catwalk match is, you got to join me at WrestleRock's WrestleBrunch. Buy me a drink, and we can discuss the intricacies of catwalk matches and whether this is the greatest catwalk match of all time. I'm going to say it probably will be. Speaking of announcements, we have had 2 more competitors accept their invitations for the PWA Colosseum this week. First up on the block was AJ Istria. Now, this was something that happened before I got sick, so I posted about this one on the website, and definitely do not sleep on AJ Istria. AJ Istria is one of the most underrated talents in this country. He works sort of a mixed martial arts, kind of a very grappling, catch wrestling. He's a wrestler, and he fits this tournament to a T because they said they're looking for pure grapplers, and AJ Istria is as pure a grappler as I've ever seen. I think he's entirely underrated because he comes from Queensland, which, as I talk about with Rufio here tonight, it's kind of considered a joke sometimes, the Queensland wrestling scene, and they're doing a lot to repair that now. But for a lot of my history with Australian wrestling, I've heard people, sort of mutter under their breath about Queensland wrestling. And AJ Istria comes from that. And he moved down to Adelaide to train at the Wrestle Rampage dojo. He actually talks a lot about this in an interview that he did this week with Todd Eastman on Wrestle Radio Australia, so make sure you check that out. I'll drop a link in the show notes. And he has accepted his invitation. He is now in the Colosseum, joining, of course, Mick Moretti, who was the first announced, and Damian Slater of TMDK fame, who we know wrestled in the Cruiserweight Classic and is one of the EPW tag team champions with his tag partner Marcus Pitt, the Untouchables. This tournament is shaping up to be pretty good, and then rounding things out as the 4th competitor to be announced for the Colosseum, none other than Paris DeSilva, our very own gift goldmine, the shooting star superstar. He's more than just that, though. He really is. He is a fantastic flyer, yes, but he is a fantastic wrestler, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do when he enters the Colosseum, and everyone has him pigeonholed as this high-flying, flashy, one move, one trick pony. I mean, the people who are there, they know Paris DeSilva. They're not going to have him categorized as that. But I'm talking about the people online. I'm talking about the nerds. When we all have him pigeonholed as this GIF, and he's going to go into the Colosseum, and I got to imagine that he's got to be thinking of showing us that he's so much more than that. In this pure grappling competition, he's going to be going up against guys like AJ Istria, against guys like Damian Slater, and he's going to have a lot to prove, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how Paris DeSilva performs in this one. I'm really looking forward to seeing who else is announced. I got to imagine there's going to be some crazy names that we haven't even thought of yet that are going to come into this one, so I'm really looking forward to find out more about PWA Colosseum. But that does it for the major announcements for this week. Now, I also wanted to cover some things that have gone up online. So MCW Fight To Survive is now on Vimeo. You can catch that on their Encore service. It's $8.99 a month, and that gets you access to all of the MCW back catalogue, all of the WrestleRock back catalogue. So if you're heading to Melbourne and you got a couple of days off before we go, you can always catch up and get up to date on what's been going on. Or you could just go back and listen to all the Aussie Grapps episodes so I can fill you in. But if you want to watch it yourself, MCW Encore on demand on Vimeo, on Pivot Share, that's where you do it. It's $8.99 a month for that one. You can also rent individual shows for just $4.99, or you can own them for $7.99. Similarly, EPW at the Deen 3 from last weekend is now up on the EPWs from the Vault Vimeo service. Again, $9 a month, I think, or it might be $8 a month, and that's going to get you access to everything they have, but this one's free. If you go to their Vimeo page, EPW at the Deen 1, 2, and 3 are completely free. And this one's an important one, folks, because it features a lot of the build to Reawakening, which takes place on November 3rd. Reawakening, of course, is the biggest show in the Perth wrestling calendar. EPW Reawakening, there's a lot of build for that on this show. You're going to find out who the number one contender is. You're going to find out who the finalists are for the longest running tournament in Australian professional wrestling, the EPW Invitational, and it all goes down EPW at the Deen. It's on demand, on Vimeo. It's completely free. You have zero excuse to not be watching EPW at the Deen. You also have zero excuse for not checking out RCW 200. The matches are up. At time of recording, they aren't all up, but by the time this comes out, they'll probably all be up. If they're not, a day later or so, they'll all be up. RCW 200, the show I missed, the show I can't wait to sit down and watch in its entirety from beginning to end as soon as that main event gets uploaded. RCW 200 is available on YouTube. They've been uploading it match by match throughout the week. As I speak, the only match not to be uploaded is the main event. As soon as that one goes up, I get the notifications on my phone. I'm subscribed. When you subscribe on YouTube, you hit that little alarm bell button. You're going to get a push notification every time they upload a video. It's a fantastic service. You will never miss an RCW match or promo again. There's no reason not to do it. It's completely free. You can get it straight to your phone. RCW 200. Check it out on YouTube. The playlist will be in the show notes. In other news this week, Guardian Australia covered professional wrestling. What a treat. This is amazing just to see this in mainstream news. So, I mean, I think The Guardian is mainstream news. I've sort of stayed away from news lately, but The Guardian it's a big paper. I know that much. It's a big news source. And Helen Sullivan and Tomas Michnik went for The Guardian to BCW when they were in Sydney for BCW 23. That's the ECW show that they had with Rob Van Dam, with the franchise Shane Douglas, and of course all the regular BCW talent. The piece focuses, they have an entire photo essay, lots of really cool photos of the talent getting ready and things like that, and of course in the ring. And they spoke extensively with Erika Reid, who I would love to have on the show. They talk about her indigenous roots, they talk about being a woman in wrestling, intergender wrestling. It's a fantastic piece. I will drop a link in the show notes. Definitely check that one out. Another great piece about intergender wrestling came courtesy of the Bronco Busters this week. They did a piece on Riley, who is, of course, the queen of Adelaide Championship Wrestling. Listeners to the show will remember she came on and spoke with me about intergender wrestling not too long ago. You can always go back in the archives to find that one. So she talks about, in this interview, she talks about overcoming domestic abuse and mental health issues through pro wrestling and just shares her whole story in wrestling. It's well worth a read, and Bronco Busters are well worth a subscribe. They do great work. It's run by Erin Dick, who I consider to be one of, if not the best pro wrestling journalist working in Australia today. I'm planning on talking to Erin when I get to Melbourne. Hopefully we'll be able to sit down and have a chat for this very podcast. But they also had a piece this week covering Vixsin. Bronco Busters aim to shine their light on underrepresented demographics in wrestling, so women and the LGBTQIA community specifically, highlighting women and LGBTQIA personalities in wrestling. It's fantastic. It's really important work. And like I said, Erin does a fantastic job. They're some of the best interviews you will ever read. Definitely worth subscribing to Bronco Busters. Once again, I will drop a link in the show notes. And that does it for this week in Australian professional wrestling news. Let's cross over to my interview. Brief little interview that I held with Rufio of AWA. We're going to talk Queensland wrestling. We're going to talk his tweets directed at Robbie Eagles and what's going on there. We're going to get the scoop. We're going to find out. And it's going to happen right now. Joining me at this time, Grindhouse philanthropist and humanitarian, Neverland defender, pirate slayer, Rufio. How are you, Rufio?
I'm really well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well. I'm battling the man flu at the moment.
Awesome.
But other than that,
that makes two of us. So sounds good.
Yeah, it's going around a lot at the moment. But other than that, I'm quite well. I have to ask though. So when I was just sort of doing a bit of research, I was looking at your Twitter and whatnot, and yeah, Grindhouse philanthropist. These are words that I know, but not in that combination.
Yep. So what's the question?
What's Grindhouse philanthropy?
Oh, I'm a giver. That's essentially what it means.
Okay.
I'm just a giver, man. All I do is I want to please the fans for Grindhouse, and I wear Grindhouse on my sleeve, dude, because it's my passion. It's essentially my life, man.
Okay.
I just really, really love Grindhouse. That's about it, dude. Yeah.
That's about the extent of it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, I wanted to ask, how long have you been wrestling? And how did you get like the standard, backstory? Give us the Rufio story, as it were.
Okay. Well, I'll try to do a quick summary of it. So, essentially, I went to an AWA show. It was the one with Colt Cabana and Adam Pearce.
Okay, yeah.
So it was while they were touring around Australia, and went to a show, saw the wrestlers, and pretty much thought, oh, I could do this. So I went up to one of the masked guys that was handing out flyers, who I later found out was Mason Childs, asked them where they train, and pretty much went from there.
Okay, fair enough. And so that would have been about 2012, 2013? Like if I'm thinking Colt Cabana's...
Yeah, I want to say 2013. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I actually thought you'd been wrestling quite a bit longer than that, because I saw you back in 2014.
Uh-huh.
You were tagging with Blue Oni in PWA.
Yep, sure was. Yep.
Yeah, and I quite enjoyed your work, but you'd only been wrestling for a year at that point.
Yeah, I was extremely fortunate to get booked by the guys at PWA, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed that whole aspect of my career with Blue Oni, and just being a part of PWA at that time too. That was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, that was the point in time when I was kind of on the fence about Australian wrestling, and PWA kind of really sparked my love, and I was like, look, we could have a complete Australian wrestling revolution here. Like I discovered that level of talent, and here we are a few years later, and it's really starting to really kick off.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, and so I didn't know that you were from Queensland, because I associated you with PWA in my mind. I moved down to Adelaide, and I just didn't even realise that you were actually from Queensland.
Yeah, there were at that time, and still now, there isn't a lot of guys that are traveling from Queensland interstate, and I was lucky enough to hang around Mark Davis, and it was thanks to Mark Davis. He was the one who actually got me booked at PWA, or helped me get booked at PWA.
Shout out Mark Davis.
Yeah, shout out Mark Davis.
Yeah. So I guess there's a couple of other Queenslanders that have kind of moved around, like AJ Istria has come down this way.
Yep, sure has.
But But Queensland wrestling kind of has a bit of a reputation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, at least in the circles I ran in back when I was in New South Wales and whatnot, like Queensland wrestling was kind of the butt of a joke. Like there was references to alphabet soups and what have you.
Yep.
Where does that come from?
In all honesty, sorry, that's all that stuff. From what I've heard, it all started before I even started wrestling. I think it had to do with a couple of promotions that was around before I started pro wrestling, and like I tend to think I wasn't a part of that, but I think that my career was built on the institution of that, and honestly, there were times that it was hard to sort of to part away from that stigma, especially when traveling interstate, because just by association that I'm from Queensland. But I guess that's just the way it was, and the way it is currently, I guess.
Right. Well, I've seen a lot of stuff coming out of Queensland lately that makes me. I mean, I'd never really paid attention because I was told, it's kind of a joke up there, but lately, I mean, specifically with AWA, and I'm really interested in the new Valhalla stuff that's happening. I really like their aesthetic. I've seen a couple of videos with like QWA on YouTube. I haven't had much time to really fully check it out, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, it doesn't look like it's as bad as everyone said.
Yep.
I mean, because I've seen some bad wrestling in other places too,
Yeah, absolutely. There's bad wrestling everywhere. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's good and bad everywhere, but the cream kind of rises to the top, and Queensland looks like that's sort of starting to happen. Who do you think, like the people or the companies that we should really be keeping our eye on in terms of Queensland wrestling?
That's a good question. Well, right now, I guess AWA, even though I'm not booked, but like Valhalla are doing something really cool and something different, which I really, really like. Even Venom Pro Wrestling are doing something really, really cool. They had Osprey and Farley not too long ago, and QWA is really good because I believe they're not really part of the. They're from Queensland, but they're not really part of the Brisbane scene. They're just doing their own little thing in Townsville up north. So there's not really any competition either. But they seem to flourish, even like the small town of Townsville. They had a big show with, I believe, the Michinoku Pro guys, which looked really, really cool. To answer your question, QWA, AWA, Venom, Valhalla, really cool. IPW seem to be going really well. And yeah, I guess that's from what I can name on the top of my head.
Right, so there's a few to look out for, and you mentioned there this is what I wanted to get to, especially you mentioned there that you're not booked AWA at the moment, so we've got a show coming up this weekend. Sky's the limit.
Yep.
And you're not booked, and you're not happy about it.
No, of course I'm not. No, it pisses me off, man. Absolutely. I mean, I just told you, I live and breathe Grindhouse, and then now I'm not even scheduled to compete, so of course it pisses me off. Absolutely.
Right. Well, we're coming off the back of AWA's biggest show, the Homecoming 5.
Yes.
Where you lost your match to Rion Fujiwara.
Correct.
And I've seen some photos of there was some fans assaulting you, I believe is the way you put it.
That's exactly what happened. Yes.
Could the losing, because I had a quick look through the results from this last year. Now, you haven't actually won a match in AWA since December.
Yes, that is also true.
Is that going to be playing into the booking decisions? Because, I mean, you seem to have taken the brunt of it out on Robbie Eagles, from what I can gather from Twitter.
I have, yep.
Why Robbie Eagles? Why not AWA management? Why not?
Both. It's honestly, it's both AWA management and Robbie Eagles. And I said on Twitter, I hate venting on social media, but it's literally the only way to make things happen. It's the only way you get noticed. Without the internet, modern wrestling is nothing, right? That's the reason why we're doing this podcast now, right? It's the internet. And I feel,
I saw the tweets. And
absolutely.
Out,
And then the only way you make things happen is through social media. And honestly, my issue is as much as with Robbie Eagles, as much it is with AWA management. And the only answer I got from AWA management is that they just don't have room for me on the card. And then I guess my gripe with Robbie Eagles is that I felt like we had a relationship, like as a friendship, you know. We were really, really good friends, and at the point that I'd consider him one of my best friends. And for him to get booked on my show, I believe it. AWA is Rufio, like salt and pepper, man. AWA and Rufio, they come in a package. And for Robbie Eagles to get booked and my show on the main event and not even do anything about it, like not even put in a good word for me, not even talk to AWA management, just to get me booked. I mean, I just felt like I was betrayed. That's why I'm pissed off at Robbie Eagles, because he was my friend.
Okay, so that answers my next question then, because my next question was, what about Brooksy, right? Like Brooksy's booked as well, and he's not an AWA regular, but there was not a word about Brooksy in the tweets. It was just all Robbie.
Well, see, with Brooksy, I barely know the guy, and then you could say he's doing the same thing, but it's more so because I don't know. I guess Robbie Eagles was a mate. That's how at least I thought about it.
Right. So you expected
I
better.
guess so. I don't know. I just feel like I was betrayed, you know, a little bit. And just as much as I was betrayed by AWA management. But I don't know. That's how I feel, Greg.
Absolutely. No, look, I can see where you're coming from there, and I guess I posed a question on my podcast last week.
Yeah.
That would you do the same? So I'll ask you now to your face. I know you responded on Facebook to what I said, but just so that people who maybe don't see the Facebook and just listen to the show, so that they can hear. The question would have to be, I mean, because the way I look at it is, he's a wrestler. He's out there. He needs to make his money, right? You said he was just chasing that dollar, and I don't see a problem with that. Like, if I'm a wrestler, I want to get booked. Yeah. If say Riot City Wrestling wanted to book you, or Wrestle Rampage down here in Adelaide wanted to book you, because I know you have worked at Wrestle Rampage, you have worked at PWA. Are you going to say no to the booking because it means a local guy might not get their spot?
So to answer your question, yeah, of course I'd say no. There's a certain integrity to what we do, and not a lot of people want to admit that. And I think pro wrestling, especially in the Australian scene, because we're such a small circle, there's a fraternity. You know what I mean? So if Robbie Eagles really wanted to help the Aussie scene, then he would help me get booked. That's just how I see it. And like if a Riot City Wrestling or PWA or Wrestle Rampage was to ask me if I wanted to get booked on the main event, and if it meant one of their local guys couldn't get a spot on the card, then I wouldn't do it. And I haven't done it before. If you look at my match history, or whoever has that on Cage Match or whatever it's called, I honestly believe that what I'm doing, what I'm saying about Robbie Eagles, is legitimate truth, and I'm justified for what I believe in.
Right, because you do take interstate bookings, but I guess the argument there would be it's not at the expense of other guys.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess I can understand that, and there's a level of justifiable rage, but there is still a chance that you may get booked. Or have AWA management told you, no, definitely there's no room for you on the card this Saturday?
Yeah, that's pretty much what they've said. I don't have a spot, which is, I don't want to swear, but it's BS, man. You know what I mean? It's pretty much after what I've just told you about how much I live and breathe Grindhouse, how much of what I've done for Grindhouse, and to not have a spot for me on the card. I mean, that's a load of crap, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I did see your name in the mix for the next level tournament. So you and 8 other competitors are facing off in a tournament of triple threat matches to become the next number 1 contender to Jake Nova's AWA championship. If Jake Nova holds the championship after Sky's the Limit.
Yep.
Now, I mean, how do you feel? I mean, you have to be in a tournament to get a a title shot, a former AWA champion yourself.
That doesn't faze me at all. That's fine. I'm okay with being in this tournament. I'll do whatever for Grindhouse, which is exactly my point. I've sacrificed so much for AWA and for Grindhouse, and that's just the way it is. Hell, Robbie Eagles, I'm sure, has done it for PWA. But I want everyone to understand that if you're in my shoes, and if you've done what I've done, if you sacrifice everything, literally everything, for one company, and you don't get an opportunity, and someone else from another state does, is that going to piss you off? Of course it does. And of course it will.
Right. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Rufio, and sort of explaining what's been going on and what's happening with those tweets, because it was one of those things where you see the tweet and, yeah, like you said, venting on social media, it's kind of that thing. But being able to sit down and actually have a chat about it, I mean, honestly, I see where you're coming from. So, hopefully AWA management get the message. Hopefully someone listens to this and maybe you get booked. I'd like to see you get booked because I'm a fan of what you do in the ring.
Thanks,
saw you
man.
at Wrestle Rampage with your match just the other month with AJ Istria. And I'm a big fan of what you do. So hopefully things work out and best of luck in the next level tournament as well. Now, where can people find you on the social media?
At Rufio Wrestling on Twitter, at Rufio on Facebook, all caps. If they want to email me, bookings, promotions want to email me, contact.rufio@gmail.com.
Right, but not if it's going to cost local guys their spot.
Correct.
All right, thanks a lot, Rufio.
Thank you.
So there you have it, folks. Betrayed. Betrayal is the word. He felt betrayed by Robbie Eagles, and that's why he sent those tweets. That's why Adam Brooks wasn't mentioned. He and Adam Brooks aren't mates. He and Robbie Eagles are mates. And Robbie's going to come to his town and take his spot without so much as a word. Robbie Eagles still has not responded to those tweets. I've been keeping an eye on it. I have my little Twitter alerts set up to see if anything happens, and there has not been a response from Robbie Eagles. He took the time while he was at BOLA to record a promo directed at Showtime Jake Nova, one of his two opponents for the triple threat match this Saturday, but he hasn't responded to Rufio, someone who considered him a friend. Think about that for a second. And once you're done thinking about it, and you've enjoyed listening to that Aussie Grappler interview, check out the other Aussie Grappler interviews that went up online this week. Paris DeSilva, who we talked about in the news, he's going to the Colosseum. He was on Conco and the Fudge this week, talking about the viral gift, talking about his time in Japan where he played a leather daddy. It's a fantastic story. You need to listen to it. AJ Istria appeared on Wrestle Radio Australia this week, as I mentioned in the news segment. Once again, AJ Istria also a part of the Colosseum tournament, and he appeared on Wrestle Radio Australia this week to talk about his moving from Queensland to Adelaide and his whole journey in professional wrestling. And our friends at On the Turnbuckle, they had a chat with Dowie James leading into MCW New Horizons. Dowie James on the Turnbuckle. These are all podcasts that you should be listening to. They are all podcasts that you should be subscribed to. I will drop a link in the show notes. Now let's take a look at what's happening this weekend in Aussie Grapps. Starting in South Australia, my home state, Pro Wrestling South Australia brings you Friday night fights from the arena in Paraka on, you guessed it, Friday night. Beauty and the Beast will make their first tag title defense, and Matt Hayter defends his PWSA championship against Riley St. James and Tyler Odyssey in three-way action. Tickets start at $15. Over in Victoria, PCW present Ignition live at the Southeastern Entertainment Centre. This one's a weekly show. It happens all the time. Tickets are available on pcw.com.au. Unfortunately, the lineup for the matches are not announced until Friday morning, so I can't give you the lineup for the matches here. But if you check out the PCW Facebook, if you subscribe, they'll send you a message every week letting you know who's facing who, what's going down, so you can get out and check out their show on the Saturday night. And on Sunday afternoon, Melbourne City Wrestling team up with Evie's Disco Diner to present Glow IRL. That's Glow in real life. It's an all-women's show in Melbourne. First time this has been done as far as I know. It may have been done before, but it's at least the first time it's been done in recent memory. And there is a stacked lineup. You got Avery, you got Erika Reid, Indy Hartwell, Kellyanne, Taylor Rose, Vixsin, and much, much more. The whole thing is a big celebration of glow of women's wrestling. It's 80s aerobica glam theme, so get your dress up on, get down on the Sunday afternoon. Tickets $25 to $40. Tickets are available at eventbrite.com.au. That's going to be one to check out for sure. Up in New South Wales, Saturday night, Newcastle Pro Wrestling number 72 takes place in, you guessed it, Newcastle. Conco and the Fudge take on the Four Nations, and the question remains, will Adam Hoffman and Concrete Davidson be able to tell their partners apart? Same. Unsocial Jordan challenges Matty Wahlberg for the middleweight championship. Full Force Matt Rogers faces a speed bump on his road to defending against Jackson Kelly next month when he takes on the Beach Rangers, Will Ketis and Brad Alexander in a handicap match, and much, much more. That, of course, goes down at the Charlestown Bowling Club on Saturday night. Tickets start at $10. Over in Western Australia on Friday night, New Horizons Pro Wrestling present Vision number 1 at Vision Studios in Perth. Salem 6 takes on King Shahil, Cannon Connors takes on Rogan Kargas, and Jebediah will clash with Vincent Sterling over the Hybrid Championship in a best-of-3 tables match. A tables match, best of 3. You're going to see at least 2, possibly 3 huge table spots. These guys are going to kill each other, all for that Hybrid Championship that they both covet so much. What a match that's going to be. So that one takes place, as I said, at Vision Studios, and tickets start at $10. Also in Perth this week, EPW are holding short exhibition matches 3 times a day for the full 8 days of the Perth Royal Show. That's this Saturday all the way through to next Saturday. You can catch them live at the Perth Royal Show. Their exhibitions take place at 1:15, 3:15, and 5:15 on any day of the show. So if you're headed into the show at all, definitely check it out. Get your tickets online at the Perth Royal Show website. Make sure while you're at the show, you get out to support your local grapplers. Maybe buy them a show bag or something. I don't know. Buy a shirt even. I'm sure they'll be selling some stuff. Support local grapplers. Make it a place to be. If every day at 1:15, 3:15, and 5:15 there's a huge crowd in this spot, more people will come, and that's going to get more eyes on those guys, and that's what we want. That's the whole reason behind doing things like this, like the, AWF do the supernovas and what have you. It's a really good thing for Australian professional wrestling. It's a really good thing for EPW, and I'm glad they're doing it. EPW at the show, that's 1:15, 3:15, and 5:15 daily for the next 8 days, starting this Saturday. If you're in Perth, you got to go to the Perth Royal Show to support Aussie Grapps. Meanwhile, in Queensland, big weekend in Queensland, we have 3 shows to talk about, all taking place on Saturday night. Sushi Paradise present Pro Wrestling Power Razor's Edge at the Edmonton PCYC up near Cairns. A new champion will be crowned in tournament action. Tickets start at $15, so if you're up near Cairns, make sure you get on down to the Edmonton PCYC to check out Pro Wrestling Power Razor's Edge. Also on Saturday, UPW go on tour. UPW on tour Gympie at the Gympie Civic Centre. Tickets start at $15. And Saturday night, AWA Sky's the Limit emanates live from the Narangba Community Hall in Narangba. The next level number 1 contendership tournament kicks off when Jackson Cross takes on Jesse Daniels and Jade Diamond in triple threat action. There will be a winner, there will be a loser, and there will be one man left who was not pinned or submitted. That man will continue on for a second chance in a match with Adonis and the Combat Wombat later in the night. Headstrong reunite to take on the new team of Dragon and Blair Seeker, and in a huge main event, Showtime Jake Nova, who has been on an absolute tear lately, will defend his AWA championship against Adam Brooks and Robbie Eagles, fresh off their hot weekend over in BOLA. Will the wear and tear from BOLA, from the flights, from the grueling schedule, will that bring them down? Will that give Jake Nova the edge? Or will the momentum that they have from being on such a high overseas representing Australia, will that give them both the edge? Are we going to see a new AWA champion? All 3 of these guys have had match of the year contenders with Will Ospreay, and now they're going to face off in that squared circle over the AWA championship. It's not one you want to miss, especially when I tell you the next bit. Tickets start at just $10, so get on down to the community hall in Narangba. Tickets start at $10. That's Saturday night. AWA Sky's the Limit. Rufio's not there. Rufio's not booked. Start some Rufio chants. Get it going. Get it exciting. Let people know that you want Rufio on the card. Let AWA management know they made a mistake by not booking Rufio. Get loud. Support Aussie Grapps. Buy a shirt. Thank you very much for listening to this little podcast. Everything we do here at the B Plus is to grow Australian professional wrestling. The only reason we talk about WWE, Impact, New Japan, Ring of Honor, is to get more people in so that we can share with them the incredible talents and incredible stories and just amazing world-class level talent that we have fighting around the country every weekend. And that's what it's all about for us here. So if you believe in that mission too, please hit the like button, hit the share button, hit subscribe on iTunes, leave us a 5-star review if you feel so inclined, because we love Australian professional wrestling and so do you. That's why you're here. So hit subscribe. You'll never have to miss another episode again. And thank you so much for listening.
Hold one. Arm drag.
You're not doing this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
So, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold two. Arm bar.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
It's still real to me, damn it. Dummy. Hold three. The moss covered.